Hello and welcome to another episode of the Expert CPG Commerce Podcast. My name is Ryan Flynn, the founder and CEO of Expert CPG Commerce, where we help brands reach more customers on Amazon and beyond. And today's episode, I'm super excited to welcome Amrit Marahaj to the show. He is from Coho Commissary Kitchens. They are a shared kitchen space in Vancouver, British Columbia. They have 6 locations up there, and man, what an amazing business that they have built. They started back in 2018, and obviously the pandemic hit, and a little rocky there at the beginning, but I mean, the business has grown immensely since then. So we have a great conversation about, how shared kitchen spaces can help emerging entrepreneurs and emerging kind of food brands in these spaces, and just good to hear about all the great things that they're doing up in Canada and hopefully beyond soon here. So if you are a brand, right, and let's say you're a brand, you're growing, maybe you started a shared kitchen space, maybe you have your own space at co-packer, it doesn't matter, but you're growing, right? And you're trying to do everything and do it well, and you're on Amazon, and guess what? You're trying to do that well too. We see that a lot with brands, and what happens is Amazon kind of gets pushed to the wayside because there's so much growth happening in the business, is you have to be on Amazon, but you're not doing everything you could be doing on Amazon, right? And you kind of know that in the back of your head, and maybe you have someone internally working on it, maybe you're doing it, maybe there's another agency that does your Facebook and Google ads, and they're helping with Amazon a bit, but you just know there's more you could be doing on Amazon. That's what we do. At Expert CPG Commerce, we're Amazon experts, and we provide the strategy and execution for brands to succeed and reach more customers on Amazon. And what we do is we provide a free audit for brands so we can actually show them what they can be doing on Amazon. So if you just go to expertcpg.com/audit and put in some information there, you can see if you can qualify for one of our free audits. It's an in-depth conversation where we walk you through all the things you're doing well on Amazon, all the things you could be doing, all the opportunities you're missing on Amazon. And man, we do these for brands and they are just kind of blown away with, geez, I'm not doing this. Because Amazon, I don't know if they do it deliberately, but there's a lot of stuff buried deep within Seller Central that a lot of brands just don't know about because Amazon does a bad job of telling brands about it. So again, expertcpg.com/audit. Go out there, fill in your information. We'll have a limited number of spots of these audits that we do provide for brands. So please, expertcpg.com/audit. All right, let's get on to the show now with Amrit from Coho Collective. And Amrit, thanks for so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, super excited. So obviously we have a lot to talk about with a couple different businesses you have, but if you don't mind, just give us a little background, lay who you are, where you're located, and kind of your business history and where that leads to today.
Absolutely. A lot of questions, so I will go through a lot of different pieces in there. So Amrit Marahaj, I'm a co-founder of Coho Collective Kitchens. Me and my partner, Andrew Barnes, started a shared kitchen service back in 2018. We saw a need. We actually didn't start as the idea of having a shared kitchen space. What we were doing is going through a midlife crisis early. So both of us were in different careers. I was in real estate development. He was in tech. We both weren't really fulfilled, but we're making good money. And there comes a point in life where you can keep going that way, or you can make a decision to try and do something more impactful. And we were just spitballing ideas. And we're actually on vacation in Hawaii together because we've been friends for many years. And somehow, thanks to Costco Vodka, we came up with an idea of a food fund. And it was actually a way for us to put money together from us and a few friends that have done well financially and wanted to do something that was fun. So we thought, okay, why don't we create a food fund? Let's invest in local businesses that might need a little bit of money that can't get financing from banks. So we have a friend at a local bank that we told that, hey, when you can't provide financing for a company, send them our way and let's see what we can do for them. And from that, we also wanted to have fun with it. So we'd rent a brewery and have a Shark Tank type night where people would pitch to us and we'd evaluate them, give them feedback, and hear all sorts of different stories. As we heard those stories, the same thing kept happening over and over again, and not a hyperbole, that each of the entrepreneurs that were presenting said, we don't have space to produce. We can't scale our business because I don't have a proper kitchen. I'm in the back of a restaurant. I get kicked out at any whim of a notice from that restaurateur. So we can't actually exceed what we're trying to do because of the limitations there. So being an entrepreneur at heart, it hits you over the head like a hammer. Like, there's a need here. Why aren't we exploring this? So we started looking into it, and there actually was a need. There's some great pioneers in the area in Vancouver, BC, where we started from, that broke the mold. They went through the city regulations. They really changed the city's mind on things. So when we entered the market in 2018, a lot of that was already in place for us. So we just had to go in, build a good facility, and start stocking with the right people. So when we started that, we both had different backgrounds, but neither were in food. So we started our first kitchen space with a wide open canvas, which is really fun. So we thought, okay, I know building, I can build these things. I know the city, there's a lot of red tape when it comes to certain types of kitchens. So I created the most industrial yet simple kitchen we could. And then from there, my business partner, who was corporate, understood how to build businesses from the inside out, ran the kitchen side of it, where we had an unorthodox approach of like, let's treat it as a business. We didn't have a chef's eye view of what a kitchen should be like. We had the right consultants, but soon we had a lot of business practices in there that standard commissary kitchens don't have. So our shared kitchen space, much like WeWork, and we try to use that word lightly nowadays because of what's happened with WeWork,
Yep.
but much like WeWork was doing, we're trying to really break the boundaries of what a shared kitchen was. A lot of times shared kitchens right now are just spaces where you rent and then you're on your own. We didn't want that. We wanted to make more impact with the people using our spaces. So we thought, okay, what services can we provide on top of just giving them space? We want to give them the best space possible, but what else can we do to help them? What are their pinch points? Businesses that are small, that are trying to grow, that are trying to scale. And through your podcast, you've seen many different types of when they started their origin stories. They have troubles with financing. They have troubles with marketing. They have troubles with business practices. Some don't know how to put together a proper business plan or a pitch deck. So we started to incorporate that into our ethos of how do we help these companies on more of an education level through our connection, through a group collective rather than everybody working individually. So it was really fun that in 2018 we started this and it started getting its own legs. So July 2018, we opened our first space. So we're just coming up on our 6th anniversary, which is really fun. And then slowly our next space happened in December of 2018. And then we started looking, okay, we have a wait list. Do we really want to keep growing this? Are we heading in the right direction? So March 2020, we opened our third space. And we know what happened in March 2020.
Yeah.
So we patted ourselves on the back. We thought, oh, it's been a good run. Let's see what happens, but we could lose everything. And we've made a good attempt at this. But the whole reason we started this business was bring community together to help entrepreneurs, to help the food business scale so that people in our community can have better food choices. We can leave a legacy that if this thing grows to a point where it carries on its own, we've made an impact in our own neighborhoods, the communities that have been really good to me, my family, and my partner and his family, and really help people that want to help the food system. So March 2020 came around and we thought, okay, we've done our part. Let's see what happens. We could lose everything. And we know that it went meteoric rise after that.
Yeah.
Ghost kitchens became the new buzzword. So restaurants doing take-on delivery started using all these shared kitchen spaces because they had an opportunity when their doors were closed to use our kitchen, to have a safe space, to do their product, to still reach their target audience. But at the same time, CPG products still went through the roof because a lot of people were at home and a lot of people wanted to support local. So March 2020 and onwards was actually a benefit to us because the community really rallied around food supply because a lot of people really wanted to make sure businesses arrived. Support local was a big tagline here. And since then, we've grown. We now have 7 locations across BC. We're technically Canada's largest shared kitchen provider, but it was all based on the roots of community. We really wanted to give back. We really wanted to see people succeed. And going through our kitchens now, even though it's an orchestra of chaos, like we have some kitchens that have 40 different companies operating in there.
Wow.
And it's a great balance because we've got amazing kitchen managers and people that are really overseeing the operation side of things. But you go in there, there's this live energy. There's this production that's happening. There's people that are passionate about their business. Even if they're stressed out and they're not in the best of moods, they're still really driving their company. And that motivates you. That motivates you to want to help more people. That motivates you to try and do bigger things and expand the company so that you see the need here. It's not regionalized. Like we have wait lists. We put up landing page in different cities across Canada. We have wait lists already established there because people see the need. And again, thanks to WeWork, they really broke the mold of what shared space is. And now shared office space is translated to shared kitchen space. So a long-winded answer to a few of your first questions, but we started this because we love it. It's something that we really enjoy.
Yeah, no, that's a great, great background there. Let's unpack that. I want to go back to a couple of those things. I mean, so many different little areas we can hit on there, but let's go back to the Kirkland vodka in Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
What was it about you and Andrew? What was it about food that you guys drew you to food? Like what, I mean, obviously it's a very impactful thing, but like, what was it about, what, it could have been tech, it could have been real estate, your background, right? It could have been,
Totally.
What was it about food that brought you guys to that?
It's one of the things that always brought us together as friends. So one of the ways that we've always connected was he was in Spain for a number of years running a tech company out there, but I initially met him in Vancouver. So either side, we'd always meet over restaurants and trying to see what the new restaurants were, trying new foods, trying new adventures when we're traveling and trying different products around the world and just comparing notes of where you've been, what you've tried, how it really impacted you, what you'd love to see in Vancouver, and how you could bring it because there's a lot of food options in Vancouver that don't have exposure that they need because they don't have the right inputs to get them there. So we thought, okay, why not something around food? Because it really connects us. It connects people around the world. One of those things that you don't need a language for. Food always breaks down barriers. So it's a great way for us to connect to our local community, but also communities around the world as we grow, because we do have ambitious goals. We do want to be around not only North America, but we'd love to see a global impact behind this and have the right partners in the region. But for us, traveling, seeing places, Vancouver, whatever it was, food was always a common bond. So we thought it's been a great connector for our friendship. Why not have that for other people? Why not start investing in local food businesses so they can have that connection? And then now the food production spaces, that's another great connection. So for us sitting in Hawaii, it was always like we were sitting and drinking, but we're also sitting and eating. Like food just brings people together, and great food is even better, an even better story. So the food part was just always the way that people connected in our lives.
Yeah, no, that's a awesome. I mean, you're right. Everybody eats, right? I mean, like it is, and it is that thing that does bring people together. It's great to meet new people over a meal and share experiences, and obviously celebrate or commiserate over a meal, whatever it may be, right? I mean, we all do it. So when you guys were, I mean, you said 2018, right? So I feel like that's pretty early. I mean, I feel like, ghost kitchens weren't even really, I mean, obviously the pandemic, they exploded, like you mentioned, but like, what were the options for people starting out before this? Obviously in their home, right, was probably one of the biggest ones, right? Like, hey, I'm baking this stuff here, or renting commercial kitchens. Like, what were the options before that for some of your like first clients?
Yeah, exactly. So that was either you're making out of your home, and that's okay for farmers market, but once you want to scale, the local health authorities, they won't let that happen. And obviously all the legal red tape behind that. The other option is you build your own kitchen, and you're spending millions of dollars and lots of time and possibly mortgaging your house, putting everything you have on the line to either expand your business or start your business. So that's risky to the 10th degree. There were some shared kitchens around on a very small scale. So again, the people that broke the barriers for us, they had existing spaces. So there was a few plots, but there's thousands of food companies in the area that we're in. So there's not enough space for the people that want to get to. So there was very limited options before we came to the marketplace. And thankfully, there's been more competition enter, which is great because now people have more and more options. There's a demand that we can't fulfill because we have wait lists. So it's great to see people in the space. But before it was either you're out of your house, you're building your own kitchen. You might get one or two people together and build a kitchen together if you know people in the same space. But even that's risky because you don't know what their business is going to do. You don't know how to manage that space together. And there was a few existing shared spaces, but again, the pandemic really blew up this phrase ghost kitchen because the New York Times did one article behind all these off-site delivery spaces. But again, that's a small part of our business. That's only a tenth of the customers that we have. Our restaurants doing takeout delivery. Most of it is actually CPG products. Over a quarter of the businesses in our space are CPG products. But then you have food trucks, and you have caterers, and you have meal prep companies. You have companies doing R&D. So you have all different types of food businesses. You have drink businesses, kombucha makers, and nitro coffee makers, and that side of thing. So it's really fun to see the dynamic mix in there. But previous to this, they were on their own. They were trying to find spaces. They were trying to make spaces work. Like I said before, they were going to restaurants saying, hey, you're off hours. Can I rent your space from you to produce and then do my thing, and then I'll leave whenever you need it? So there wasn't a consistent resource for people to turn to. So we really wanted to try and turn that on.
Yeah, that's a great, you mentioned some of the like CPG companies or like ghost kitchen type companies, or, people just developing like caterers and things like that need a kitchen. But like the R&D thing is something I didn't really hit on, but that's a perfect example, right? It's like, let's treat this kind of like a lab, right? And do it that way. That's a great one. So explain a little bit, is there some shared spaces that people share? Then there's you have your own space, like, and it's customizable. How does that all, like, is it similar to WeWork or some like a shared office space? Like, explain a little bit more of that, what you actually get, I guess, when you're a member there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly the word we use. We use the word members. We don't use clients. We don't use tenants. We want members because we really want that community mindset when people come in the space. But it is a shared kitchen. So what you actually get is a production pod. So depending how big your business is, you get a production pod, 5 foot by 10 foot, 10 foot by 10 foot, 10 foot by 20 foot. And it's within a shared space. And it's all open. And then there's a shared cooking line. So it's a large industrial cooking line with all the equipment that you could possibly need, from the hot equipment to mixers to all sorts of kettles and things like that. So the way our system works is that our kitchen manager's done a really good job of creating an online system that you can book all the equipment from. Now, your space that you rent is your space. So traditionally, some of the kitchens that are competition, you have to bring all your stuff in daily and then you have to take it out daily.
Yeah.
We're opposite. We give you your space, and that's your space. So you can leave all your equipment there. You can leave your ingredients there. We have all the cold storage on site as well. So we have the freezers and coolers, and you get racks, depending on how many racks you need for all your cold storage that have coming in or going out. And then you book time on the hotline, which is the cooking line, depending on what equipment you need. And then we have a great program that we're using. Everybody's visible to see it so that they can book when they're needed. But again, our team's really good about when they're onboarding companies, they ask them, what are your peak production times? So we don't have everybody producing at the same time. We have everybody staggered. So we have typically bakers who are inhuman at some points because they're up at 2 a.m.
Right.
Pushing their craft so hard. They're done by about 10 a.m. So their ovens are free after that. And then during the daytime, it's usually the CPG manufacturers are in there. And then nighttime, it switches to the take-on delivery people. So because we're able to have such an organized kitchen, nobody's waiting for equipment. People are just booking themselves on the equipment as they need it. So they'll prep in their pod. They'll go to the cooking line, do what they need to do on the cooking line, go back to the pod, either package it up, put it in the cooler, or package it up, send it out, whatever they're doing with that final product. And then they can leave all their stuff there, come back the next day or the day after, whenever they need it. So their production pod is then, say, 10,000 square feet. We have 25 production pods of different sizes.
Yeah.
We have an 80-foot production, or a hotline, 80-foot cooking line with all the different types of equipment on there. So it's a massive cooking line. We have a dishwasher service. So when people are done with their dishes, one of our team washes the dishes for them and then returns it to the station, because after a long shift of doing your hard work, the last thing you want to do is dishes.
Yeah.
So we're able to offer that service. We created a little mini office shared space as a bird coop in one of the spaces, just so people can have a place to sit and relax, hold meetings, do their office work, whatever it is. So really trying to encapsulate all the different needs in there. But within that shared space, we do have private rooms. So some people do want their own space, lock and key. They still have access to the shared cooking line. They still have access to the shared freezer, shared cooler, but they have their own room. They have their own private room. So like I was mentioning before, that research and design company they were looking at lab-grown meats. They wanted their own space, lock and key.
Yeah.
If they needed more equipment, they could use it in the shared space, but they had their own space, lock and key. The great advantage for them and other companies is that you're not waiting for permit times. You're not waiting for the health authority to approve you. We're already pre-approved. So you come in, we allow you to use the space. We go through the interview process. Once you're in, that's your space. The local health authority will come around. They'll evaluate you and your company, but we've already pre-approved you through their systems and through their checklist. So they know that if you're in our space, you're already there. They just need to come see it.
Yeah.
So that takes a lot of headache out of people's mindset, so that R&D company can quickly hit the ground running rather than, I need to find space and get the health authority. That'll take 3, 4, or 5 months. 2 weeks, you're in, you start.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think I can speak from my own experience. I'm sure you can too. As like a founder, you think you're obviously starting a business maybe based around one little niche that you know a lot about, right?
Yeah.
And then as you start to broaden, like, okay, I'm starting this business. Now I've got to get permits and approvals. Now I've got to get all this equipment, right? And you don't realize, like, oh my gosh, I thought I was just doing this, right? It's like, the classic book, the E-Myth, right? Like, I just like baking pies, but there's a lot that goes into everything else you have to do. So, and what an amazing opportunity for companies and brands and people that are just wanting to start somewhere in the food world to be able to leverage all that. I think you're mentioning a couple things, right? We'll touch on them, but like the equipment alone, I mean, I think people don't have any business that requires a lot of capital intensive, equipment or whatever it may be. You don't realize like, one, how much it's going to cost. Like, can you get it? Is it available? Like, are you buying new, used? Like, what's the condition of it? That kind of thing. And so, yeah, talked about that. You guys probably have anything anybody could want and need, right?
Exactly.
Any type of food business.
Even for us, because we didn't come from the food business, when I started getting the first space up and running, I started getting quotes. I'm like, an oven costs how much?
Yeah.
This is way more than a house oven, but it's just all the little specialty equipment, things people need, and they truly need them. But the costs are through the roof. Like, literally, our spaces have millions of dollars worth of equipment. I couldn't imagine being a solo entrepreneur and trying to start up a kitchen, trying to get a loan, trying to organize the equipment delivery. And then on top of that, there's the maintenance. These things break. There's a lot of usage happening. So then if you've got your own kitchen, you're down. You don't have any other option. You have to go fix it. You have to get somebody to fix it yourself. Whereas we have backup ovens, we have redundancy built in so that there's other equipment to use if one machine goes down. So again, we have that advantage of scale that companies come in. If one deep fryer is out, there's another deep fryer right next to it or on the other side of the hotline. So we're able to take all that pain and headache away. But yeah, it is a huge cost. And even down to the little things, like we have rag service. So there's rags around for people to use to clean and do whatever they need to do. But that's something that we take care of. We have a team that goes around, changes the regs daily, but those little things that add up for an entrepreneur that they don't have to do during their day. They are responsible for cleaning their area because we need to make sure that it is a shared space. You need to make sure whatever equipment you're using is cleaned after, whatever pod you're using is cleaned after. But we still have a team that comes in early in the morning to do the deep clean every day to make sure that the health standards are there. But again, we're trying to reduce the pain points so that entrepreneurs can grow their businesses in the most efficient way possible. So taking care of that equipment, buying that equipment, taking care of the reg service, taking care of the deep cleaning, making sure the freezer temperatures are all monitored, making sure their products are safe, making sure the deliveries are coming on time. All those things encompassed, it's all part of that we were learning as we go that, oh my gosh, this equipment's very valuable, not only to us, but to them. So there's both sides of the story there. But yeah, it was a big learning curve to see how expensive setting up one kitchen is, let alone 6 kitchens. But it's been very well worth the investment.
Yeah. Yeah, because you said the third one was right at the pandemic, right? March 20, was that correct? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so,
hey.
so yeah, let's shift to the pandemic a little bit, right? So the pandemic happened. Obviously, the world kind of turns upside down. Different areas of the world, different parts of different countries. But like, sure, the roller coaster of emotions you probably went through is like you and your co-founder Andrew went through of the first couple of months was probably wild. But then explain to us kind of, I'm a big believer, and this is just me being a half glass full kind of guy. There's good in every situation, but obviously there has been good. So yeah, just walk us through a little bit of that March 2020 when that rolls around.
And you're right. And I'm the same way, that the universe has its reasons for doing things, and things happen and you can work with them. And we sat down as a team when March 2020 happened because we didn't really know what the next steps the governments were going to take. So that was unclear to us as well. So we thought, okay, look, let's abide by what they mean. So let's do the social distancing. Thankfully, we were deemed as an essential service. So we weren't shut down, thankfully. So our entrepreneurs were able to still create and push. But we sat down as a team, and of course, as a young team, you just try, okay, what can we do to keep our lights on? So we started a delivery service. So we started making an online market that we would deliver our members' products for. At the same time, we thought, okay, let's go talk to our landlords, and our landlords were amazing. We all talked to the landlords and said, look, we might not be able to make rent over the next few months, just depending on what happens with restrictions. They were all very understanding. They were all very helpful. They said, okay, let's work out a plan that if it doesn't happen over the next few months, we pay it back over time. That was a huge relief. But we were able to pass it on to our members as well. We said, look, if COVID is impacting you, our landlords have been very gracious to us. We need to be gracious to you as well, saying if your business is impacted, let us know. Let us work on a plan that keeps you going and that you stay within our ecosystem, that we can all work together, but then we can still grow and ride through this, because rising tides raises all boats. If we started just being hard asses on you need to pay your rent because we need to pay our rent, nobody wins. So we were able to go, and there were people that took it and they all paid it back. So there wasn't a point where anybody felt like they were able to take advantage of us and they would just leave us behind. It was that sense of community that really helped. So as the pandemic grew and grew and grew and things started to take shape, okay, this is the reality of what it is, the community around really did come closer to us, that people wanted to support local. So people are actually seeking out our products, our members' products, and the three spaces that we had were busy. People were looking for options. People started to understand that we were around, that they would look at one product, see the same production address as another product in different companies. Like, oh, there's one space that's providing all these things. And they found our online market. So we start to do deliveries. And then you connect with the community saying, hey, we're co-commissaries. You do the delivery. Like, oh, I love that idea. Let me support more. So it really was a blessing in disguise because it brought us tighter together. It brought the companies that were working in that space tighter together because a lot of them started to share resources. They didn't know what was going to happen either. So it's like, how can we work together to be better? How do we save money together? How do we have better resources? Can we do farmers market stalls together to help create a better product offering for the public so that they buy more each of our individual items rather than us just selling separately? So the amount of collaboration that came out of it was amazing. The amount of help that people gave each other that didn't really know each other was really just inspiring to be in the space to see. And then us being just that conduit for it in our spaces was rewarding in itself. So after the shock wore off and we just had a game plan to keep moving forward, it's one of those things. The entrepreneur, you just kind of keep putting one foot in front of another. Whatever gets thrown your way, if it works, great. If it doesn't work, pivot, change it. So it was a big pivot for us. The online market took off and we tried to make sure that it was sustainable. But eventually, once the pandemic started to quiet down, we closed that side of the shop up. But for us, it was coming together as a team, making sure that we have a clear vision of what's moving forward, even though we don't know what might happen. And then helping the members in the community around us that, okay, this is the product offering. How can we help promote you to anybody in the neighborhood, all the grocery stores, all the contacts that we have, all the distributors that we know of? How can we get you on shelves faster? How can we get your products aware of, and even people that were not in the CPG space started producing CPG products to help sustain their growth, to help sustain their business in general. So we wanted to help them, help get them tutoring on how to do CPG products. We brought in experts to help with that as well. So it was an interesting time. Looking back now, I mean, it's almost 4 years ago. It's over 4 years ago now. Time flies. In the moment, you think everything is sky is falling, but looking back, it was actually very good for our business, and it was really good for our team to go through together because we did get the other side smarter, stronger, better, but we feel our community did the same.
Yeah, well, you guys did it the right way. I mean, going back to the first part of the story there of negotiating with your landlords, and it's one thing to do that and to just say, okay, we're going to make sure we're okay, and then not necessarily line your pockets, but just make sure we're not losing money end over fist. But the way you paid that forward, I think, to your members of your communities, I mean, that's one of those things in business that black and white numbers that may not make quote unquote sense, but like you're going to earn so much more respect and trust from that community. And like any little niche space, and not that it's really a niche space, but like people talk and people know each other, and you don't want, obviously, if you help them, that's going to be so much more impactful as they mention your name to other potential entrepreneurs who are starting a food business, right?
Totally. And that we're not in the space business, we're in the people business. We tell her this is all relationships, whether it's a relationship with the member, a relationship with our landlord, it's all relationships. And we want to make sure that's a positive impact every single way. But we're in the people business. These are people using our spaces. These are people that are feeding their families through the product that they are offering, through their hard work, their sweat and their tears. We have almost 150 companies in our spaces at this point producing. It's over 500 jobs that are gainfully being done through the conduit that we have. But it's a people business. Those are people that have livelihoods that are supportive. Those are kids' educations that are being paid for. These are people that are putting themselves through college. These are people that might be recent immigrants that might not speak English just as well as us, but they have an opportunity now to create a living for their family rather than going to work at a minimum wage job that does not offer them any skill development, but they have to do 6 of them to make sure that their family's ends meet. So for us to be that equalizer, it's all about the people. Like, it's all about relationships and how you're able to impact them. But it's just, we're in the people business.
Yeah, for sure. Talk about that, like, community of aspect, because I mean, you and I have both benefited from being a part of entrepreneurial communities, or maybe it's a community within an industry, right? You mentioned kind of up front, that's a big part of what you guys do too, because there's so much value in just walking past another person's space and asking them a quick question or having a quick conversation and getting a little tidbit or win that they've experienced, be like, oh, could we do that for our business? Or taking a few different tidbits and wins. And then talk about like the kind of educational component of it too that you guys provide as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the community part of that is huge. It's so much fun to see that when we were starting off, we allowed all different types of businesses, even competing ones, right next to each other. And we did that on purpose, that our competitors didn't allow that. If you had a croissant maker, that was the only croissant maker in the space.
Interesting.
Whereas we thought, okay, look, there's 2 croissant makers. They're going to know each other anyway. If you put them in the same production space, they're able to talk to each other, what best practices are, who their suppliers are, how can they get better rates together, what's working for them, what's not working for them. People together, they really do actually want to help each other, even if they're in the same space, same marketplace, whatever they're doing. So we found that across the board. So as we started growing and growing and growing, we really wanted to make sure that small companies were right next to big companies.
Yeah.
So a chain restaurant is allowed in our space. People are like, well, you're not supporting local. We are. We're supporting jobs. We're supporting people understanding training. Some people that are coming in with no skill set are now getting a skill set through our kitchen because of these bigger companies. But we tell the bigger companies, help the smaller companies that are next to you in the shared space. And they do live by that. So we've got a great Japanese sushi chain, high-end one, that opened a market. They've got their own grocery store now and some of their retail locations. But now they carry our members' products in there as well. So some of the small companies that wouldn't get exposure to a lot of the high-end clients that the sushi restaurant has now have that because they were producing right next to each other. So companies really do want to help each other because they're all human. They're all personalities. They really want to see the best in people. They want to bring it out. So we encourage that so that community really grows strong. And even the learnings in the kitchen itself, so some kitchen entrepreneurs, like you might have an idea for a great pasta and you want to come in, you want to create. So that's good. We'll help you get that space. But sometimes you don't know exactly what you're doing. So to see that there's people in the kitchen that will come over and help. Some of the more trained, experienced chefs or entrepreneurs will come over and help you. There's a funny story I like to tell that one day there was a wok that caught fire in the kitchen under the hood fan. And we're watching the security tapes because we weren't there at the moment, but somebody told us about it. Just showing my age, I said security cameras. That the wok caught fire And we can see that the younger guys that were operating it that were newer to the kitchen didn't quite know what to do because it was a grease fire. One of the more experienced chefs calmly just walked by, grabbed a pot lid, threw it on the fire, kept walking, didn't say a word. So it was almost like a comic skit where this guy was just the trained professional, walked by, didn't even say anything, dropped it on. But that experience in the kitchen helps some of the new entrepreneurs to understand, okay, if there's a fire, you can throw a lid on it, it takes all the air out of the space, and no more fire. So we really try and push that community side of things. And then, like you're talking about, we try to bring in experts or people that can help expand their businesses as well. So whether it's supply chain, so we partner with Sodexo, which is one of the largest global food and beverage companies. They've got a great rebate program. So what we're trying to do is drive down the food costs for our members, because rising food costs are such a big issue right now for entrepreneurs of all different scales. Whether you're a one person shop or you're a multi-chain restaurant, food costs are just astronomical. So Sodexo, partnering with them, we're trying to drive down food costs. So they've gone to all the different suppliers for our members and said, look, we have our accounts, give our discount to them. So our members now get a larger discount based on Sodexo being a partners of ours. So, and now they have a supply chain as well where Sodexo can buy products from them for their offering, because they operate hospitals, they operate stadiums, they operate hotels, whatever it is that they provide food and beverage for. So our partnerships have been really key for us to be able to move the needle for our members and our community. Then at the same time, people will come in to give lectures on how to get financing, microfinancing for your small business, how to do marketing if you want to get onto grocery store shelving, how to do proper packaging, because even little things like, does your package stand up on its own? If it doesn't, you're going to have really big trouble putting it onto grocery store shelves. So then all those different types of things, then understanding the dynamics of being on a grocery store, you might actually have to pay to be on a grocery store shelf. Like, you actually don't know all the marketing hurdles that are in there, or even how to get into the farmer's market, how to apply for a farmer's market, how to write a business plan. So thankfully, we've got a great network of people that really want to help, and all on their own dime, or they're from bigger companies that really want to see smaller companies succeed. And they come in, they'll talk to people, whether it's one-on-one or a group setting or a virtual tutorial or online Zoom call. And they just really want to see this community be fostered. So as we grow in more and more locations, it's harder to do things one-on-one or harder to do things in person, but we do want to have those resources, and we are trying to grow those online resources as well and work with the right partners and the right industries to help those companies grow. So it's all different levels of the community, whether it's the businesses right next to each other supporting each other, or us trying to support those through the resources we have, because we see it as one big shell. We're not six individual kitchens, 7 individual kitchens. We are one big moving unit. And the bigger we get, the more horsepower we have for those individual people, that they don't have to go out and go and do things on their own. They can be part of this big group. They can have group buying power. They can sell their products through our networks, through our supply chain, through our distributors. They don't have to worry about all those headaches. We can reduce those pinch points, because then that makes it easier for them to do their products. Because again, we're in the people business. If they're successful, we're successful. Easy enough.
Yeah, it's one of those win-win-win scenarios, right? You guys are winning, the entrepreneurs are winning, the customers are winning, the distributors are winning, the suppliers are, everybody's benefits from this, right? Which is just
Totally.
awesome. It creates jobs. It's a big economic engine, which is pretty cool when you have like kind of a network effect like that. What should a aspiring food entrepreneur, whether they're start a bakery or maybe they're developing a CPG product, like what should they look for in a shared kitchen space? I mean, based on, obviously your model, it's probably different than, like you mentioned, some of your competitors, but what are like the big attributes that a brand should look for, or an entrepreneur should look for when they're looking to start that business?
Really great question. We really encourage them to really understand their business to start with. Understand what their needs are. Understand what they actually need the space for. Because a lot of times they have big goals, big dreams, which is awesome, but they have to start 1 foot at a time. And when you start 1 foot at a time, you might bite off more than you can chew. So maybe it's like, okay, I need a 10 foot by 20 foot space. I need all this equipment because I'm going to do all this production. Well, okay, let's go back a second. Do you have orders for this already? Do you have the manpower to do this? Because you don't have machines to do all your production. Do you have the right suppliers to provide the packaging for all that goal that you have? So we really try to get their business plan dialed in of where are you at right now? What do you actually need in your space? And let us help you dial that in, because otherwise you're going to just take too much space. You're going to spend more money on rent per month than you need, or anybody else. So when you're looking at a shared kitchen space, really know your business well, and then come to a shared kitchen space with that model saying, okay, look, this is what I need because this is where I'm starting at. This is where I'm going to get to in 6 months. This is where I'm going to get to in a year. Because then we can help you plan. Like, okay, in 6 months, you might need to grow your space a little bit bigger. So you go from a 5 foot by 10 to a 10 foot by 10. Great. We know that. We can help you plan for that. But the bigger mistakes are, and we've seen this, unfortunately, that people, okay, they have great plans. They think that they have these orders in place, and they come in, they start production, they ramp up, they have all this frozen storage product in there, and they don't have any sales. And that product sits. And then they can't make any more product because they can't get the other product out the door. And it is heartbreaking because you want everybody to succeed, but it's those things that really ask the right questions to yourself, really where I am. Are you in a starting business? Are you a medium business that's growing? Are you already at a pace where you just need to expand because you need to hit the ground running faster and faster, and you need more room for your employees? Great. Let us help you dial that in. But ask the right questions of yourself, and then ask the right questions of the shared facility. Does it actually have what you need? Does it have the right equipment for what you're trying to do? Again, going back to knowing what you're trying to accomplish, talk to the people that you're going to interview for the shared kitchen space, because as much as they're interviewing you, you're interviewing them as well. You want to make sure who's in the space, what type of personalities, what hours is the space running? Like, we're 24/7 at all our spaces, but some people might not have those kind of hours. So what hours are you producing? Does it match up to what you're trying to do? Because people have families, people have kids. A lot of people have to come in after school hours or during school hours or before school hours. So does that kitchen fit what your lifestyle is like? And then does it have a good reputation? Like, ask other people in the community, how does this kitchen work? How are the managers running that space? Are they around? Is this just you're on your own type space, or is there people actually there to help you out? Ask the right questions and you'll get the right answers, but don't be afraid to ask those questions either. Talk to the kitchens, and if they don't ask the right way, find another kitchen. Thankfully, this industry is growing and there's more and more options out there, especially in the States. There's a lot of shared kitchen spaces that are offering different types of programming, but ask what you need and then you'll find out the right answers, because otherwise you're going to get in a kitchen situation that might not have the right personalities in there that fit your personality. If you're very quiet people and there's a lot of people talking to you and you're just trying to get your product done, that might not be the best fit for you. Or if you're trying to look for a space that you're trying to grow and learn from, there might be great kitchens out there that have really helpful people. You just have to ask the right questions.
Yeah. Great advice. What would be a couple companies that stick out to you, success stories that you guys have seen come through your kitchens that are just really proud of, whether they started before or after the pandemic? A couple that come to mind?
Absolutely. There's always great stories there, and I love to share them. So there's a young couple that moved from Hawaii to Vancouver. We have no idea why, but they did. Usually it's the other way around, but they did. And they had this dream of starting this food business, and they really wanted to share Hawaiian food to the Vancouver community because it is something that is niche, but really isn't around. So they started doing takeout delivery from our kitchen space during the pandemic, and they really grew a very encouraging fan base, and it kept going bigger and bigger and bigger. They had an amazing product, and really tasty, really delightful. And then finally, after I think about a year and a half in our space, they got their own restaurant. So they were able to start without jeopardizing their life savings, without jeopardizing a mortgage or whatever it is. They were able to grow their company the way they wanted to. They didn't have pressures to do it any other way. They grew the fan base up, and they have a very successful restaurant in Vancouver now. Unfortunately, they got hit by a fire recently, but they're rebuilding at this moment. But again, showing the amount of community love and support that you see on their social media pages, they merely made an impact, and we're so proud to see that they grew out of our kitchens. That was something that we were able to provide them the medium to get their success where they are now and provide that impact to the community through what we were able to just give them as a kitchen space. So very proud to always see your kids leaving the nest. It's one of those things that you're a proud parent because you don't want them to leave, but when they have that right opportunity, you really want to encourage it. We have many stories like that along the way. But then we also have CPG manufacturers within our spaces. So we've got one called Sriracha Revolver, and she's a single female entrepreneur, a mother, even went through breast cancer while she was still running her business. Just somebody that's totally inspirational. And now her Sriracha Revolver, which is an amazing hot sauce, is growing like wildfire. She's in all sorts of distribution. She's in grocery stores. She's in farmers markets. She's still hustling every single day. She's going out doing deliveries herself, meeting people, doing tasting. It's growing. And it's just this person that's so focused on her business, and just seeing that she's created this in our space and now has been able to grow it from, again, the pandemic side of things, and then now has this opportunity to spread her message across Canada and across the U.S. through what we gave her as just a production studio. So there's lots of stories like that. There's another one called Kula Foods, which is Afro-vegan products, that CPG product that, again, created in our kitchen spaces, and now she is across North America distribution.
Wow.
So it's just this great way that she started in our space doing it herself. Now she has a co-packer because she's able to scale it.
Yeah.
But you love to see your kids grow. And she's such a big supporter of the space as well. She still mentors people that are using our space right now. She's part of the different organizations that help provide leadership within female entrepreneurs and people of color. So there's such a great symbiosis there that we have all these stories, and I can go on and on and on about these success stories, whether they're small or big, because success is different for different people. Success might just be being able to pay your bills and have a fun company that does what you want it to do, but you're passionate about it. Other ones want big scale, want to be across North America, want to be across the world. It's fun to be the medium for all of them, but those three right now stick out right away, but I can keep going on and on and on.
Yeah, I bet. No, those are awesome. Those are great examples. As you were talking about Sriracha Revolver, right, I was thinking about, obviously you mentioned these, battling breast cancer and being a single mother and all that. Like, it's a lot in itself, but then you're growing this business. But then the fact that she doesn't have to worry about whether it's her or anybody else, doesn't worry about like his, my space and my equipment and all this other stuff. Like, they can literally just come into their space and they can just do their art, do their craft, right, without having to worry about all the other ancillary little stuff that comes along with having your own kitchen space, and worry about that. And then, spend more time on the marketing and the distribution and the different. So it's just so much, it's just such a, weight off someone's shoulders to be able to take that piece and support them there. That's awesome. That's really great. That's awesome. So what's next for you? What's next for Coho? Like, what's on the horizon? You got 6 locations now and Vancouver. I think you mentioned Waitlist and other parts of Canada. So explain that. What's next?
Absolutely. We want to keep growing the business. We want to see this reach more people. So we'd love to keep growing across Canada and then across North America eventually. But we're trying to see that we can fulfill demand in BC, British Columbia alone right now, because there still is Waitlist across Vancouver and there's still a big market here to serve. So we want to make sure that we're feeding our own backyard before we spread our wings far. But we've got great partner relationships in different provinces across Canada already, so that we have people that we know have a need. We'll send them to our partners out there and make sure that they are taken care of. But we have ambitious goals. This is not 150 companies. We want to be doing 1,500 companies. We'd love to get to 15,000 companies in our ecosystem, because there's a lot of need out there and it's not changing. It's just going to keep growing. The more shared spaces you have, the more opportunities people have to grow their business, but survive as well. And as the food economy changes over the next few years, food costs aren't going down. How can we create an environment where it's shared, that everybody can benefit through being in a communal network rather than being isolated and on their own and just having their own space, doing their own ordering, doing their own supply chain, doing their own marketing, all that stuff? How can we bring everything together as one big whole and move as a mass and create this movement as a team, as a member community that we can take across Canada, across North America, and hopefully across the world? So ambitious goals, but something that we see locally that we want to help spread across Canada right now.
Yeah, no, I love that. And to kind of echo that same question, like you mentioned food costs, right? It's a big trend, obviously, just inflation in general, like costs growing. But like, what are any other trends that are happening, like in the food or CPG industries, that you guys are kind of seeing at the ground level through your kitchens, or things that you kind of see maybe on the horizon that people should be on the lookout for?
I think more and more people are being conscious of where their food comes from. So not only what product is coming to them from their local supplier, but where those ingredients are coming from. And all these Netflix specials and things on Amazon Prime that show that some of the stories about beef manufacturing and farming and what the issues are, people are more and more inclined to make sure that the recipes are clean, that the ingredients have less and less of those big scientific names and more whole products in it. So a lot of the trends we're seeing are into like whole-based foods rather than things that have additives or supplements and things like that. So people focused on those clean diets is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. The vegan part is still there as well. The cultured meat is growing. We're seeing where that's going because we have, again, the R&D in our space. We're seeing that sort of thing. That is becoming more and more demand because the beef population or the cattle population and how that's affecting the ecosystem right now and the environment. And people are showing the greenhouse gases rising because of all the cattle production that's happening. So alternatives that help the environment that way. So I think consciousness is the biggest driver right now for people, that they're really being trying to conscious of the environment, especially as boomers start to get older and the younger generation is coming in that are very sensitive to those things. And social media has accelerated that as well because the amount of information out there is huge. So people seeing things online are now able to be more informed, sometimes misinformed, but more informed about situations and how things are impacting the world globally and new food trends that are creating shortages in parts of the world when people need food. And we're taking that here to create our own abundance, which is wrong. So again, people are now being more and more aware of what's coming and what's an ingredient and how that story is being told from the manufacturer. Like Starbucks and those people have said about coffee beans, that single origin, where it comes from. They've told that story really well so that the farmers that are producing it are being paid a fair wage. The same thing's happening in the food industry where people want to know that farmers are being paid a fair wage. People are growing ingredients with the right reasons. They're not using pesticides, and they're making a product that is good for them. It's not going to cause cancer or other issues in their health down the road. So really seeing the trend towards whole foods, whole ingredients, rather than having artificial stuff inside products, and people being aware of it.
Yeah, that's a great, the whole food supply chain. There's probably a lot of even businesses that can be started within there, like just ingredient tracing and supply and things like that. That I'm sure on the horizon. That's a great one. That's a really good one. Last but certainly not least, for aspiring food entrepreneurs, what are some pieces of advice or some things from your experience that you would like to impart upon our audience as they maybe look to grow or expand their business?
I know it's easy to say, but do it. But do it in the right way. Find a mentor. Find somebody in the industry that's done it before or has a similar story. Go talk to them. Find out what their hardships were. A lot of the things that people are doing nowadays aren't new. They're new variations of things, but they're not new. So find a mentor out there that's been through the rigmarole that you're trying to get into. Because it will save you a lot of time, but also give you a lot of comfort. I have mentors that are great, that when I have a hard day, I pick up the phone, like, I'm going through this. Like, great, that's good. That's a struggle that you need to go through, but here's what's going to happen. That's what happened for me. This is through our networks that we have in common, Ryan. But at the same time, find people that have been through what you've been through or trying to go through. That's one of the biggest things that helped me. That's what I see missing from a lot of entrepreneurs, that they got their head down, they'll try and do things on their own, but they don't realize that there's a wealth of resources out there for them. And then make sure that you have enough capital to do what you're doing. A lot of times people have ambitious goals, ambitious dreams, but they really tighten themselves on the capital side, and then it becomes harder and harder to grow your business. And eventually, sometimes you have to fold your business because you don't have enough capital in place. I know that's not the sexy answer, but it is something that is a reality, that you need to make sure that you're well funded. Whether you're just starting in the farmer's market, you need $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 to get all the fees and licensing done, but all your product going, your packaging, whatever it is, or you need $500,000 for your business to grow to the next stage of where you need to get to. Make sure that you have all the capital in place they need to for the next stages of your growth. And again, talk to a mentor, talk to people in the industry, talk to us, talk to whoever it is that you have around you, or the internet. Obviously, there's a lot of information on the internet, but make sure that you have the right capital in place, because that is one of the biggest pain points that you're going to get. And it is hard to raise money right now. It is not an easy time because all the economic instability out there, interest rates where they are, elections happening how they are. There's so much questions out there what the economy is going to do. It is difficult to raise money right now. So make sure that you have the right mediums in place before or during your plan, because it's going to get harder and harder because you're going to be concentrating on your business and have less and less time to raise the money that you need or get the loans that you need. So make sure that you have either in place or the strategy to get it in place as you're growing, because it's going to be very difficult when you're running with your business full speed to do both at the same time.
Yeah. Both great pieces of advice there, because on the capital side, it's just like, again, people, I've been there. You have these big ambitious plans of what you want to be, but you're really going to worry about getting that first buck, right? And then reinvesting that back in your business and supporting yourself at the same time, either directly with the business or outside of that. So, and going back, the mentor thing is super. I mean, that's what great advice. I mean, I think with the way, we're all looking at things to 30-second reels or TikTok videos, right? And it kind of exposes all these quick, hey, check this out, you can do this and that, and all these little hack things. It's something you just need to have a half an hour conversation with somebody on the phone or via video chat or in person or whatever. They're going to tell you, yes, this is something that's going to happen. There's some ways you can get through it or things to think about, right? And it's a lot different conversation. So mentors are huge in any facet of business and life as well. So yeah, awesome. I feel like I could ask you like a million other questions about this. So this has been absolutely phenomenal, and what a great business. I mean, as I mentioned, you guys have started. I mean, just it's got to feel great too to be able to wake up in the morning and see the direct impact you guys are having, both in your members' lives and the community, and just in all the other little spaces it does touch. So kudos to you, and can't wait to see what's next for Coho Collective. So thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's been a really fun hour. So thank you so much to you and your team for having me on.
Yeah. Take care. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. What a great conversation. Thanks, everybody, from Coho Collective coming on the show today. And man, really just providing a ton of valued advice, for not only people that use a shared kitchen space or have either used one in the past or thinking about using one, but just kind of entrepreneurship in general, and the way that entrepreneurship can touch different communities, different people, and these win-win-win scenarios that can be created from different businesses. It's just really amazing. So thanks so much again to Henry for coming on the show, and make sure to check out Coho Commissary and their website. And would love to see them keep expanding in Canada and beyond. So hopefully you got a lot of value for this episode. You really enjoyed it. Please rate us, like us, subscribe to us, whatever platform you're watching, listening to this on. It just helps us, right? It just helps grow the podcast more. And send this to a friend. Maybe you have a friend that's looking about starting a food business, and maybe they're looking at a shared kitchen space in their area of the country or their little neighborhood, and maybe they can get some value out of some things that Henry provided, just in what brand should look for, what company should look for when looking for a space like this. So please share and like and rate us and all that fun stuff. And we will see you next time on the next episode of the Expert CPG Commerce Podcast.